After watching or actually viewing the photos from the links that were given to us, I learned from the Micronesian societies that they were a culture that lived off the land and of the sea. They were a maritime society. They heavily relied on using the ocean for resources and their daily uses of eating as a food source for fish. And something that was different was that they ate turtles, which I heard about from some of Micronesian friends I have here in school, which is different in my, at least in my perspective. They also saw pictures of pigs being hunted. They use resources such as coconuts for the bread, the protein of it, the milk. Use it to weave things with the husk. Also ate breadfruit. And then another thing that I learned was that it's socially acceptable to dress minimally, as you saw in the photos that females would were topless, and wasn't a big deal as it is for us here in the U.S. And it was socially acceptable. They had traditions of dancing as well, some photos of that. And as I looked through the photos, I started in the beginning and then I accidentally jumped to the end where I noticed photos of white man or modern civilization coming in and recording their culture and the way they live. And it was just kind of an invasion of their simple life and their tropical paradise. They were sort of stomped and just told that here's what you're going to do and this is going to be for the best, when it was actually for the benefit of the others and not actually the Micronesians themselves. Another note was I noticed that women prepared the food in the photos. There's a lot of photos of women sitting and preparing the food, and the men would actually do the hunting. Just some notes that were made in these photos. And then when we came to the videos, I thought they were very powerful and touching poems that were given. And I noticed right away that it was one of our own, Macaruso. I used to work in one of the apartments, and it was his wife, which was just a shocker for me. And I was like, oh. But then just listening to her speeches again, it was just very touching and gets your blood flowing and juices going. It's very moving. Very much so gives you perspective of how Micronesians are seen and the way they're treated, and how American standards and practices have kind of changed and affected who they are. And there's a racial tension because they live a certain way, but here it's socially unacceptable, and there's just a disrespect of their own island life. But then there's some Micronesians who have been so to say kind of corrupted from their own island life, but it's just trying to gain some recognition and just to be recognized not as Micronesians but as I forget her name, but as she said, the speaker, they're just trying to be recognized as people and not just tiny people, not micros. They're Marshallese, they're Palauans, and so forth. Very moving and touching videos, and I'm glad I got to witness it.